some common reasons sealants fail are a user application error or surface prep error. Sometimes folks are actually choosing the wrong sealant for that application, and that will just cause mechanical failure if it's the high movement joint and maybe a low performance sealant. Maybe using a, water-based sealant in below grade or where you'd see ponding water. I already touched on the incompatible substrate materials chemically with some of the sealant technologies. And then there's some reversion on polyurethanes. We're going to get into a little bit of that later. Just to give you all an idea, these are all the different stresses on a moving expansion joint. Now, this is kind of why the sealant is tested with so much scrutiny, that there's a lot to consider here. Now, for simplicity purposes, we're only going to be talking about expansion and contraction today. So looking at this diagram, the middle joint is a perfectly well-designed expansion joint. We got a 2-inch gap. That's the maximum for industry standard, definitely for AU1. As you see, as it's going from cold to hot on the left to the right side, when you go, the substrates are heated up, they expand, causing that joint to compress. The middle joint, as you can see, is an hourglass shape. That is to give it room to flatten out flush as the substrates are expanding and the joint compresses. If you started out with a flattened joint, then as the substrates expand and it compresses, you'd actually get a buckling or push out. I mean, we would just call that joint failure, right? And then as it cools down, you see the substrate stretching out. That hourglass shape gives you that perfect elongation opportunity.
Another key part of that too is if the sealant doesn't have any room to compress, you're also putting additional stress on the substrate where the sealant's coming into contact with the substrate. And even if it's a low modulus sealant, it's going to be more likely to crack or damage the edges of the substrate. So that's the importance of, regardless of brand or type of sealant, to have that specified hourglass shape.